Hello, I'm going to discuss with you some of the living conditions in the Geo Detention Center that I have heard about from guests from CASA. Specifically, I'm going to tell you some stories of guests from CASA and what they've told me about the living conditions and the way they were treated and the things they had access to while staying and being detained in the Geo Detention Center. Typically about 0 to 13 people are released every day from the detention center during the week. CASA, I've worked there and had no people show up, so we've worked with just cleaning the house and preparing for the next day. And I've also had almost 13 people show up, and it being a little crazy, but it's also very fulfilling when those 13 people have a plan or transportation that night or anything that will guarantee them their way home. So I'm gonna talk about one specific woman that I met through CASA. She was a guest. The day she was released, I was cleaning the CASA, and she told me about the living conditions there and what she experienced and how her daily life was impacted by it there. So first she told me about the food and how it was mostly just rice and beans and some bread, which is not very nutritious. She also told me that the convenience store where they could buy things was very expensive. I know there was another guest that I had the pleasure of driving to the airport. We spent like 6 hours together. I got to hear his whole story, and he told me that the Frosted Flakes at the detention center in the convenience store were almost like $13 for a small little pack, which is kind of ridiculous. So we went to the store in the airport and we got some Frosted Flakes for him, which he enjoyed. Also, that man told me a story about how while living in the detention center, they're also living with people who are convicted criminals. They have different suits that they wear. They told me that they call the criminals the Reds because they have red suits. Just a little weird to think about, that they're just segregated into their groups by the color of their uniform. Also that these innocent people who were just taken or seeking asylum are living among criminals who have convicted major crimes and done horrible things. It's just crazy to think that they're living in the same facilities and being treated the same way, and it's kind of disturbing, honestly. Another story I had with this young man is you can see from the moment he was dropped off, he was a little disheveled, didn't really know what was going on. Later that night at the airport, he was a completely different person. You see the life kind of filling back into these people. And you see when they're treated like how well the people at CASA treat them, it actually impacts how their behavior, it actually impacts their behaviors and their just desire to interact with people. On the way to the airport, I was able to listen to some Cambodian music, which was really cool. I was introduced to this artist who I actually listened to a couple more songs of his later that night and showed my friends, and now we listen to them regularly. It's awesome. And to just offer and to just have that experience of driving this man to the airport and just saying, hey, what music do you like to listen to? And knowing he he's from a completely different world than I am. It's cool that we were able to bond over that, and just like two friends going to the airport, and it was awesome to see him have that life again and that happiness. So overall, you can see what just courtesy and generosity do to people, and when that's taken away and they're treated so poorly and given horrible living conditions, they're not able to be themselves and to form those connections. And I'm so very lucky to experience that experience, seeing people just relive or find their life again, and it's awesome.